pjnet.tv, part 2, 9:30 on this 12th day of May 2022, and our bumper is running, and we are recording, we are streaming, we have JD standing by. Our purpose here is to provide a platform for everyday Christians to share their walk with Christ, and we'll get to that after we count it down to Studio 18. All right, blessings, glory to God, and welcome. This is pjnet.tv, and it's time. It's time to take a trip around the Cross W Ranch, and there is nobody more qualified to be our tour guide than the caretaker himself of the Cross W Ranch in his Cross W Ranch logo t-shirt in white, JD Wininger. And JD, it's been a while since we've talked, and so much has happened. Get us caught up. I can't wait to hear your story.
Yes, sir. It's been about a month. I tell you, it's been a busy month, Coach. It's flown by. It seems like I was just on with you last week, but these things happen, you know. And I just sharing in the chat room with Mr. Ron Gallagher. Said, man, you just got to make hay when the sun's shining, and it's been shining brightly here the past month. I'm putting in 80-hour weeks consulting on 3 different programs and things, taking care of that, and life groups at church, and those are wrapping up. And Awana, the kids on Wednesday nights, and Sunday morning services, and different things have been going on, and lots of ranch activities. Calving season is finally done. Saturday morning, Sopracilio Bianca, or white eyebrows, my little heifer girl, delivered a beautiful little 72-pound heifer calf, beautiful little red Angus calf. So it's red Angus all around, and she's out there running. Biggest years I've ever seen on a calf. You know, we've nicknamed her Dumbo, but her name is Angelina, you know. I stick that tag in her ear, you know. Day 2, I vaccinate them and put an ear tag in so I can keep track of everybody. And she's running around the pasture, and that tag is just a flopping, and it makes me think of Dumbo with the little guy sitting on his back, yeah, as he's swooping around, you know.
Yeah, he may fly off, you know, just flap them hard enough.
Yeah. Just ears just flapping all over the place, and that white tag just a waving. Yeah, it's hilarious.
So, how do you know calving season's open? Have you notified,
No, calving season is over, Coach.
Over.
I'm sorry, it's over. The last calf is born. That's how I know it's over.
Okay.
Have
you notified the bulls that?
Oh, poor old Maverick. He's out there with the steers. He's locked up till June, and he's not liking it. But he's up in the north pasture, and he's got his 3 steer buddies. But let's see. Tuesday night, Mr. John and I cut. You know, when you sling out seed, Coach, it just kind of goes where it goes. And I noticed that my neighbor to the north of me, Mr. Tom, man, he had a bumper crop of ryegrass and clover and vetch. And I said, wait a minute, that's my seed. And knowing that I'm not going to get that hay cut, I said, Mr. Tom, you okay if I come over and just cut that, and we'll just feed it as silage or haylage, you know? And he goes, absolutely. So, boy, they had a feast Tuesday night, because I cut about a 20-foot swath, excuse me, just clover, just waist high, and just beautiful, Coach. And the cows and the calves and Maverick, and they just stood there at the fence line waiting. Come on, toss it over here, Papa, you know. So we'd cut it and rake it and take pitchforks and throw it over the fence, and they just sat there and feast for about 3 hours Tuesday evening. So they really enjoyed that.
Speaking
we got
of
all the Bermuda grass planted, and so we've been busy, Coach. It's been a very busy month.
Well, speaking of scattering seed, last weekend I scattered some centipede seed. We finally cleared about a lot of, now it's just bare dirt. And that stuff's kind of expensive. And you got to water it. I mean, twice a day. And I woke up the other morning and I noticed that there's dove out in the yard. I thought, well, how nice is that? Wait a minute, they're eating my seed. I run out there in my BVDs and ran. I gotta get
for me, it's a 12 gauge overall, Coach, and it's pros. Yeah, I 2 weeks ago, because when you feed hay throughout the winter, Coach, and then the rainy months come, and boy, they can really work up a pasture where the hay is, and there's hay remnants laying all around. So you put the disc on a tractor and you disc it in, and then you go through and you rake either the field cultivator or whatever. But you get the ground nice and level again anyway. And a lot of times, that grass will just pop up. But I wanted to add some Bermuda grass, so I have summer forage each year in about 14 acres. And so I got the seed, and Coach, everything is going up. Prices are going up everywhere.
Yeah.
But and I made a point to mention this week. Farmers, we're seeing over 35% inflation. The cost of seed and fertilizer. When I moved here in 2013, I was paying about $350 a ton for fertilizer. Now it's over $1,400 a ton, Coach. I can't afford that, and the small farmer just going to have to go without, because even the chicken litter, if you could get it, the organic types, and of course there you deal with varying quality and things, but even that's $1,000 a ton now, Coach. I mean, they're just and the thing is they're making record profits. So who's bearing it here? It sure ain't me. And so that's making things a little tight, a little tough. So we're having to make some difficult decisions. Do I pare back the herd? We've not got as much rain, so my pond is still about a foot lower than it normally is this time of year and things. So you got to start forward looking. Times are getting tough, Coach.
Well, and it's coming, because if you're paying 4 times what you used to for fertilizer, that's going to get reflected down the road. That's not something that's going to happen today, but those when that hits the grocery store. Well, JD,
Coach, and that's the thing, Coach. My costs are going up. A sack of feed, a 50-pound sack of feed, has gone up $3.50 in the last 6 months. Yet the price per pound that you would sell a cow for at auction is actually gone down about 3 to 5 cents a pound in that same time period. So but if you go to the grocery store, hamburger is $7.50 a pound right now, right? And so somebody's making a killing, but it ain't the small farmer and rancher.
You're getting squeezed. You are, and we're all going to feel it. You're feeling it. We're all feeling it. Well, on to something more pleasant.
Let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Bask in the light a little bit, shall we?
We can bask in the light. From time to time, I know, bloggers do, they'll have a guest blogger in, and sometimes that's indicative of a vacation or something like that. But, in any event, discernment is necessary, when you invite somebody to guest blog on your site. But I think you made a good choice, and basking in the light, that is not a barn cat, and that is not a barn.
No, sir. Wasn't that a great post, Coach? As soon as I read it, I said, honey, man, I got to get this out there. And I actually bumped a post because it was so important to me to get Mr. Ben's message out there. Mr. Ben doesn't blog too much. He does things with Vine words, and he's doing things with guideposts, and he's got several books out there published, and his teaching and his speaking career is going great. But we all need platform as Christian authors. And it just thrills me whenever I get the chance, whether it's Miss Catherine or Mr. Ben, when I get an opportunity to share my audience or my platform with others, to bless them, because they are faithful to comment week in and week out on my posts and things, and I try to reciprocate. I try to do the same things. Coach, can't really do that for Mr. Ben's, because he only posts once a month or so with Vine Words with Miss Diane Virginia Cuneo. But I just wanted to open my platform to him. I don't know. I've not had a chance because Mr. Ben's been under the weather. But I hope that he's gotten some new followers on his Facebook account and things, and people are looking. Because when I find a worthwhile author out there that blesses me, I want to share that blessing. And that's why I was so glad that Mr. Ben agreed. I'd been asking him for some time. Mr. Ben, Mr. Ron, Miss Catherine, haven't had the opportunity yet to extend an invitation to Mr. Doug, but I want to be sure to do that also. Mm-hmm. And just to try to bring my friends along with me, right? And they do the same for me, Coach. So it works out. But Basking in Light received some pretty good comments, so I'm very grateful for that. And Ben, even though he was under the weather, he responded to every comment, and that just blessed me mightily. It's so important that you build those relationships one person at a time, right?
It was, I knew something was up because, like I said, that when I saw the picture, I said, that's not a barn, and I just can't imagine JD having a cat in his house. Maybe you do, but speaking of domestic family members, poor Bubba. Poor Bubba, and we need an update. This blog's about 3 weeks old now, but it seems like Bubba's kind of nicked up.
Yes, sir. He's kind of banged up. I don't think that it's a full tear of his CCL or cranial cruciate ligament. It's like an ACL on a person. But yeah, I don't know what he did. He jumped off the buggy or chasing a cat or getting under the bottom row of wire or what, but he's tore a ligament in his right rear leg, and to see him hobbling around and things. So I've had to keep the garage door down just cracked enough, Coach, and I'll go out the back door and keep my muck boots out there now because he can't follow along, and it's hard for him to get up on the buggy and ride and things because he's really nicked up and in a lot of pain. So I give him this painkiller each day or NSAID, and he's resting, he's recuperating, he's getting stronger, he's walking better because I'll take him out for his necessary nature breaks. Mm-hmm. But I don't let him chase me around and run around and follow me while we're doing chores. But Coach, it's the hardest thing in the world to look over at that garage door. And there's this brown nose sitting under the garage door. But please, Dad, let me out, And he's used to going everywhere with me. The plus is that Mr. John doesn't have to sit in the back of the UTV. He gets to ride up front with me now because Bubba's not there. But he's getting better, Coach. It's not completely healed. And I'm going to be talking with the doc in the coming weeks about a brace to support it, or there's some injections that's possible. And Mr. Ron Gallagher knows all about knee injections and ligaments and things, so he's probably sitting in the chat room shaking his head going, oh, yeah. And working through that. But, he's still Bubba, still loves me, still rolls over and wants his belly rubs and gives me smiles. So, we're making the best of it, Coach, as he recovers. Yeah.
Well, they become family members, and
yes, sir, they sure do.
I know it just, it hurts, but sometimes, folks, if you read the blog, we need rest, and sometimes if we won't do it, God will Help us along the way. You know.
Yes, sir. That he has done numerous times in my life. Yes, sir.
And the older we get, the more rest we need. You know. That's
Yes, sir.
I think.
That's very true. Very true. In fact, as soon as I get off of this, I'm probably going to take a 30-minute power nap in my recliner because I still have dirty fingernails. I was out weeding the garden and watering right before the top of the hour, Coach. So the last vestiges of sunlight, get it while it's out there. The next week, Coach, started May out with a sight from a Sunday morning service at church that just moved me. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to worship with deaf people or not.
No.
But I have a dear lady in my church. Her name is Diane, and she's deaf mute. But she attends my life group, Coach, and she's a fairly new Christian. And life group is just a small group setting on Sunday evenings, and we meet at the church and just have a great time fellowshipping and learning and discussing different concepts and things. And she asked some of the most challenging questions, but my biggest challenge has been learning how to communicate with her. So I'm learning this is Jesus, and the Bible, and Jesus, you're pointing to him and things. And of course, my favorite symbol is this, right? I love you. And because I get that from her a lot, and we talk, and amen, is important. So I'm trying to learn ASL a little bit at a time. I'm so grateful that she's got acceptable penmanship. I can kind of read it most of the time because she'll write questions down. Otherwise, she just shakes her head at me, goes to the whiteboard, and draws a picture. And we're playing Pictionary all of a sudden. But I absolutely love working with her because in our life group, we have 10, 12 people. And we just interact and get along. And, of course, the best part's the meal afterwards, right? Mm-hmm. But, we just enjoy that. But, Coach, you know me, I'm kind of security conscious. And there's doors here, and the baptismal back here and things. And so I scan and watch things. But I caught something out of the corner of my eye, and what in the world? And I realized, there was Miss Mary in the background, and Miss Mary is like the, what I call her in the blog, I think, the resident, the unofficial resident, or hugger in residence, I think I said. Because she comes up to you and just gives the best hugs in the world, Coach. And we all need a Miss Mary in our life, right? Just says, I love you, and you get the hug. Man, she would just make your day better, But she was just praising and thanks. The amazing thing about Miss Mary, she was praising through worship, Coach. She'd lost her dad just a couple of weeks before this, and he had dementia. So she and her husband had actually moved out of their home, moved into his home to keep him calm and stable and steady and things, 40 miles away. But she moved there. She was unable to attend morning worship services, sometimes she pitched the morning worship service, but her husband couldn't because somebody always had to stay here with Dad.
Tag team. Mm-hmm.
So the husband and wife weren't able to worship together and things. They made it work. They're a great couple, Miss Mary and Mr. Glenn. But going through all that and to see her praise, that just makes you feel good, right? Because she's chosen to find the joy in his passing, and it isn't joyous that he's passed. Although quite candidly, when you've got one like that, it can be a sort of a relief to know that their suffering is over, right? But there's that. But here's my friend, and she's going, and I'm going, oh my goodness, and I'm trying to catch some of what she's saying, but she moves so fast. It's kind of like when a native Spanish speaker speaks to you, huh? And you just got to listen for your name, right? But what I realized, and I caught enough of the words to realize she's singing the song. because they put the words to the song when the worship band plays and things up on the monitors. And she's just singing along, and she's got the biggest smile on her face, Coach. Broke my heart, you know. I thought, geez, why can't I worship that truthfully, that cleanly, And I thought, my goodness. So I just snapped that picture, Coach, but it just moved my heart. I stood there with tears streaming, Coach, to see worship happening by two very different individuals, right? But they were all worshiping in their own way. And that just lifted my heart and made it a great service that morning, Coach. But that was a joyful noise. And then we come to this week's block, Coach, tending the garden. Now, we grew up close together in Polk County. Did you ever hear the term chopping cotton?
I had not heard the word until I read it in your blog.
Never heard. Okay.
And we've got cotton around here.
I'd heard it growing up most of my life. Although I'd never chopped any cotton as a young man, I have to admit it. I understood the concept, and I sure hoed a lot of gardens as a young fella. But basically, chopping cotton or chopping corn, in our case here with our garden this year, is simply, you wait for the seed to germinate, and the plant comes up, but you always put a couple of seeds in each hole, Coach. So we had 9 50-foot rows, right? So 450 feet of garden space this year, and got all kinds of stuff planned. But we did 2 rows of sweet corn. John loves sweet corn, and I introduced him to the movie Secondhand Lions. The line they use, corn everywhere, just corn. And we've been saying that to one another for the past 2 weeks. But it all came up, Coach. Not one seed failed to germinate. So thank you, Lord. But I said, well, John, we're supposed to keep corn about a foot apart, and you got some that are about 4 inches apart here, John. So we've got to, and it broke his heart. What do you mean you're throwing it away? You can't replant it, Mr. Jim? I said, what it grows, Mr. John. We have no place to plant it. We're out of garden space. You want me to hook up the tiller and make some more rows? No. But it broke his heart to have to throw away perfectly good plants. But it's all thinned out things, and of course cultivating or getting the grass and the weeds and stuff and keeping those in control. But everything is up, everything is growing, Coach. It's doing great. But what happens so often, Coach, and the lesson, of course, when I'm thinning the garden or thinning out the corn and getting the right separation and stuff, and I'm thinking about the parable of the sower, right? Some seed goes on good ground, some on rocky ground, and it doesn't make it, and some goes on thorny ground, and you have to deal with all the weeds and everything with it. Well, those same things happen, Coach, in our lives, even good weeds. If you will, and I'm dealing with some of that this week. I've got multiple consulting things that are happening. It's causing me to work long hours. I took a 3-hour hiatus this afternoon, and we went and cut the grass, which was about waist high, for a dear widow woman in our church that said, I need somebody to come cut my grass. And someone had to step up and do that. And we did. Of course, I'll tell you funny there. I've got, the big Fierce zero turn 71 inch, big Mo Gator, right? And I loaded up on the trailer and we're headed there. And we get there, and I knew that she was volunteering at the food pantry, this dear lady, Miss Debbie. And we navigate to her street, and it's closed. So, okay, go around the block. It's closed on that end, too.
All right.
They're replacing sewer lines this week, all up and down the street. You can't get and I sure as heck ain't getting a 16-foot trailer in and weaving around front end loaders and dump trucks and cement trucks and everything else. So we had to go home, and I said, Miss Debbie, I said, I don't have a push mower. I can borrow one. Okay, so she borrowed one from a fella across the street. So we cut her lot, maybe an acre, with a push mower today in 90 plus degree temps. And I came home, I looked like a wilted flower, But I told John, we're making investments in eternity, buddy. We just, so we just took turns hitting it a lick and going at it. And then we got that done, and I came home. Didn't even go inside. It just jumped on my big mower and mowed the backyard here. So that's about a 3-acre mow here. So it's just super busy, but it's all good things, Coach. But we get so busy that all of a sudden my God time gets shorted. Geez, I really need to look at that prayer list. I'll have to do it every other day, and I like to take some time and sit under the pines in an afternoon and just relax and refresh. Nope, I don't have time to do that this week. Sorry, Lord, I got to put you on the back burner again. And Satan just takes great delight when we get ourselves so busy with these weeds, that we miss out on things. And so it's time to start thinning. I had to say no to 2 other jobs that have come in this week that, I'd love to help you guys. You're great clients and things. I just don't have the bandwidth to do it. I have to let something go.
It'd be a disservice if you would have said yes.
Yeah, exactly. Because I would not have been able to give them the level of service they have come to expect from me. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to you, Coach?
It does.
And the same thing happens in our life. We get overcrowded. We get so busy. Whether that's with worldly things or that's with churchy things, right? I've got life group and Awana and doing extra help this Sunday with Awana because we're trying to finish the books before the season so they can get their book awards, in 2 weeks, and all these things. And even doing good things, you're not focusing on the good thing that you need to do, and that's seek God's word and seek fellowship and time with God. So it's an important lesson to me as much as it was to anybody else. But seeing some good comments, I'll be candid, Coach, and I apologize to all my readers. I haven't even responded to your comments yet, but I do see them, and we'll get to them before the weekend's out.
I know you will. JD, when you think about weeds, if you don't do anything, they'll take over. This has to be a volitional choice. It doesn't just happen. Number 2, if you get on it early, you can stay on top of it.
Yes, sir.
But if you let those go, it's going to get beyond your ability to do it by yourself. This is what I've been working on all winter. Just neglect. The things that I was taking out with a chainsaw at one time were 2 fingers that could have been just lopped off with a pair of shears, and you could have just took a ditch, just a spade and gotten the root out. But no, if you just let it go, it gets harder and harder. It takes over. But know this, no matter how thick those weeds get, they can be cleared. Yes. You may have to work at it. But
takes a lot more effort.
Takes more effort, but you don't have to do it by yourself either. And that's the joy of Christian living: is there are brothers and sisters in Christ who will help you weed your garden out. And so many lessons, JD. Well, listen, I know that you're busy. Thanks for the update on Bubba.
Yes.
And how old is Bubba now?
Bubba's 6 now, yeah.
That's still just a puppy. But I've had Labradors, and they tend to have problems with their hips, and lower back, the way they sit. Have you ever noticed how a Labrador sits on their hip?
On one side, yeah.
Mm-hmm, they do. And over the years, it's kind of like we have I'm noticing gravity's taking its toll on me too, you know.
Yes. I'm trying to tell you.
All right. Well, but JD, we love you, brother, and thank you so much for sharing. And you know, gosh, we'll see you in about a month. But it's always good to see. You know, when I get on Facebook, I can see where you have spent hours just reading other people's material and sharing it. You're a good man, JD, and thank you for sharing.
You get
with
what
us.
you give, Coach. You know that.
Well, you know, it's.
Hey, Coach, if you haven't gotten a chance yet, just real quick, I was blessed this week. You remember our friend Miss Joy Neal Kidney?
Yes.
And she read a post a couple of months ago and said, "Oh, I just love this post." And I guess she sent it to her friends at Our American Stories.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
And Mr. Lee read the story and then called me and said, "We would love for you to read this story, Mr. JD." And I'm going, "No, I really don't think y'all want that, you know." And he said, "Well, why?" And I said, "Well," I said, "You know, I've got a face for radio and a voice for newsprint." And he kind of chuckled at it, you know. And he said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, listen to me, man. I sound like the love child of Elmer Fudd and Foghorn Leghorn. Yeah. Now, do you want this, you know?" And he said, "Just be you, right?" Well, with your kind assistance, I got one of those fancy Yeti microphones, and they do make a difference, Coach, I must tell you. So I said, okay. And then I got sick with a sinus infection and couldn't record anything for a couple of weeks. But I finally got around to it, sent it to the young lady, Miss Madison, in Oxford, Mississippi, I think is where she's from. But, you know, Our American Stories is a delightful talk radio program, Coach. I think it's number 12 on the talkies nationwide. So it's the 12th largest program, over 4 million listeners. And this week on Tuesday, they ran The Quiet Cowboy. And I guess it's been doing pretty well. I shared it on social media and that kind of went, you know. But just if you get a chance, go to Our American Stories and give that a hit for me, if you would, and just give that a listen. Very different platform, but it was an enjoyable experience. They've asked me if I'd be willing to submit more stories because I'm such a great storyteller, and I'm going, but I don't know where that'll go. We'll see where God leads. Bottom line, everything we do here, everything I do it in my Christian writing is to make sure that that the glory goes to God. So that's what it's about. But I hope you friends might enjoy that.
Thank you for reminding me.
Let me sit with you and visit with you tonight.
There you go. Well, I appreciate you bringing that up. I almost forgot. Well, I did forget actually. And as JD would say, may all joy be yours and all glory be God's. That's how he says it. All right, well, let me give a quick mention. Tomorrow night is Friday night, and on Friday night I get the night off because Steve Hazards takes the helm, and he starts about 9 o'clock Eastern. We kind of party. We just listen to some good, he plays some retro tunes, and we relax, getting prepared, I guess, for 10 o'clock when he unleashes my perspective and comment, and he wraps it up with a higher look, as he calls it. So and I appreciate Steve giving me a break, and we're going to need that break because we are facing some engineering challenges. A lot of new stuff here. Last night we had no camera, and the new camera we've got, by the way, you can't run it forever. You can't be charging it and using it. You can charge it, or you can, but we're gonna work around it. Okay, we're gonna find a way. I love it. I'm not complaining. So we'll be back next week. Back tomorrow night with Steve Hazards. And we'll be back next week. Go to pjnet.tv. Take a look at our schedule. Barbara works hard packing that schedule. Until then, until we meet again, may I ask you to ask yourself 2 questions. What's the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And second, when was that? Let's never let ourselves be satisfied with either answer.